Today, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verses 10 to 12. Do not say, why is it that the former days were better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. Wisdom, along with an inheritance, is good, and an advantage to those who see the sun. For wisdom is protection, just as money is protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of its possessors. So at verse 10, do not say the old days were better than the current days. And don't we have a way of doing that? We say, I wish it was like it was back in the good old days. The challenge there is what? That our perception of the good old days is usually pretty skewed. So it's hard to really accurately assess the good old days versus now. Now seems worse, the good old days seem better. Well, that could be because you're not remembering a lot of the difficult pieces that you had back then. So be careful about perception, be careful about comparing today with yesterday. Yesterday might not be the way you're thinking it was. He comes on to say that wisdom is protection. Wisdom is like money. Wisdom is capital. When you have wisdom, when you're exercising wise behavior, wise decision making, that's a good thing. You want that. You don't want to be rash and make a sudden decision. Sometimes, I'm shopping and I'm trying to decide what I'm going to buy online, and you get a whole bunch of stuff in your cart, and I like to just wait. I like to put a hold on that. I've got these 4 books. When am I going to have time to read these 4 books? I'm going to sleep on that. I'm not going to press the button. I'm going to wait. It's so easy to buy stuff online, and then you've wasted money on stuff you can't get. Ecclesiastes says that wisdom preserves the person who is acting by wisdom. That makes sense to me. Doesn't that make sense to you? Wisdom preserves the person. Be wise. Don't do something rash. Don't do something you're going to regret. You punch a hole in the wall. You punch a hole in the wall enough times, and one of those times you're going to hit and break your knuckles. You're going to hit it right on one of the studs. So use wisdom. It's not useful. There's a lot of things that we do that are not useful. So stop, take a deep breath, trust in God. When you know that God's on His throne, you have new opportunities. You have opportunity to do the wise thing. So slow down. Remember, God is on your side. And let the wisdom we find in Scripture be our guide. God has given that to us to help us. He knows it's hard to navigate this world. He knows that. And so He's given us many helps. And a lot of times, if we just do it our way, it's going to turn out badly. It's going to be disastrous. But if we follow the principles of Scripture, look at some of the stuff in the Proverbs, look at some of the stuff in the Psalms, slow down, take a deep breath, find out what God's plan is, act on faith instead of on sight, and you'll be helped. So Ecclesiastes has a lot of common wisdom for us besides all this talk, and we're getting into a big stretch here that's going to talk a lot about death. All right, he talked a lot about futility, and he's going to talk for a period of chapters here on death, and it seems pretty grim stuff, but there's some help in it for us. So let's let Ecclesiastes be our instructor. All right, let's put in a note at verses 10, 11, and 12. And let's see here. What are we thinking about here? Wisdom is protection. Wisdom preserves the life of its possessors. So the source of wisdom is God. It's not you, by the way. No, it's not your brilliant IQ. The source of wisdom is the help that God gives us. And so He gives that as a gift, and He desires that we will benefit from the advantage of His divine wisdom. I don't need to have a life that's filled with human wisdom. I can actually have the help of God's wisdom. And why wouldn't I want that? So let's make sure we get God's help. It will help us to live right every time. So coming up tomorrow, we're going to look at verses 13 and 14.